Hi. So today we will learn about a virtual machine. So that is a VM connector. Let's begin the session. So today's our agenda is what is queue, how to create queue, connector configurations for queue, and finally demo POC on VM connectors. So that is today's our agenda. Then what is VM connector? Anypoint connector for virtual machine, that is VM connector, manages intra-app and inter-app communication through either transient or persistent asynchronous queue. So here the intra app and inter app. Intra app is in a single API. If we want to make the communication, we can go with intra app communication. And if we want to make the communication in between two different or multiple different APIs, then we can go with inter app. So intra app means within a single API, if we want to connect or if we want to make the communication between different flows, that communication is a type of intra app, and inter app is in between different APIs. That is inter app communication. And queues. So here the two different types of queues are there. One is transient and another one is persistent. So transient queue means that is a reliable queue. So deleted once the system crashes, but its execution is faster. That type of queues are called transient queues. And next, second type of queues are persistent queue. In this type of queues, the data will be stored permanently, but its execution is slow. So that is the difference between transient queues and persistent queues. And next, common use cases for the connector. So basically, we use this VM connector as communication purpose. So it passes the messages from one flow to another through a queuing mechanism instead of queuing a flow reference directly. So in Mule, if you want to make the communication in between two different flows, we generally use flow reference. So instead of using flow reference, we can use this VM connector, and it distributes work across a cluster. Sometimes our projects are runs in a cluster mechanism. So in those cluster mechanisms also, this VM connector can be used to make the communication. And at the same time, Mule domain projects we have. So to maintain the communication with different apps which are running in the, can use this VM connector. And so the available connectors, VM connectors which are available in Mule are basically four. One is consume, listener, publish, and publish consume. So the consume, let's see one by one. So how it works, how this VM connector works. The VM publishing flow first listens for an incoming HTTP message payload which contains the body attribute of a JSON object. Then in a one-way VM publish operation, the message is published in a VM queue and the flow continues. So here I have given a small demo like thing. Here HTTP response, that is a JSON object that comes and stores in a VM publish. The same JSON object, once it is published in the queue, listener will store that queue. And then from the listener, we can consume the JSON object. So like this way, the flow continues and the message will flows. And at the same time, the HTTP response, the JSON object that stores in the VM listener, and that will be published and consumed. So these are the two functionalities of this VM connector. Next, creating queue. So this is the consumer connector queue. Let's see the basic configuration of this queue. So how to create queues. And here add the VM connector from search exchange into the palette. So first we have to add the VM connector from the exchange. In the configuration, under general, need to select either bean reference or editing line. So here two types of queues storage will be there. One is bean reference and editing line. We can choose editing line. Then after that, below queue name, queue type, and max outstanding messages. So we have to click on the first plus button, and then we need to give the name. Choose the type either transient or persistent, and add the messages number. How many messages you want to add? You can add those many messages. So that number of messages it can store. Here I have given a name for the queue, that is first queue. And then the payload will publish in the queue, and we can use consume from the queues. We can consume the, once the payload will publish in the queue and can be consumed from the queues. Publish connector configuration. So let's begin with publish consume connector. So for that, we need to drag and drop the publish connector from the palette and then choose connect content as payload. So whatever the payload we are sending from the request, that that message will be stored as a content in the form of payload. And after that, we have to select the queue name. So in the configuration, whatever the names we have given, that names only we have to choose. And here I have chosen first queue. From the drop down, we can see multiple number of queues, whatever we have created in the configuration. And here the timeout 5 minutes or days, based on the time unit, we can give the time. That much time the payload will publish in the queue, and can select the time and time unit, how much time you want to store the payload. And then the payload will publish in the queue and can be consumed from the queues. That is the publish connector configuration. Next, consume connector configuration. Here the configuration is same as we have seen for the publish connector configuration. Here we have to select the consume connector and select the queue name. So previously I have given the name as the first queue, and the message from publish queue, it is stored in first queue, and the same message we are consuming it from the first queue. So select the time and time unit and how much time you want to consume the payload. The payload can be consumed from the queues. So that much time only the payload will be retained. And after that, the once the timeout is exceeded, we can't see that message from the queue. That will be deleted. And here listener connector configuration. So this is the listener connector configuration, same as consume connector and publish connector. But here we need to choose the content. Whatever the content payload we are sending it as a request, that we have to given under this content session. Instead of using VM connector, we can directly also consume the messages through VM consume operation. This operation can consume messages on demand, allowing you to dynamically consume from different queues. So we can through with the help of listener also we can consume, or directly with consume connector we can consume the messages from the queues. And the publish consume connector. So this publish consume connector, it will publish the message in the queue, and immediately once the message is published, it will consume the queue. So that is about the description and general overview of VM connector. And let's start this POC. So here I have given a small demo on this VM connector operation. So first of all, I have taken a listener and I have given the configuration and the path name as VM POC. And here I have given port name, host and port, local host and 8081 port. And here in this VM connector configuration, I have added this queue name as first queue, and queue type is transient, and max outstanding messages are 10. And here this queue type I have selected as editing line. If you want to add another queue, you can simply click on this plus button, and then you can give the name, whatever name you want, you can give. Here I am giving it as second queue. And how many number of messages, outstanding messages it will accept? Let's give 5. Just simply click on this finish, and that queue is added. Just click on OK and go to message flow. And here whatever the payload, I'm sending it as request, I'm keeping it as payload, and that payload I'm publishing in this publish queue. So here this is the configuration. The payload I'm sending it as content, I'm sending it as payload, that is coming from this transfer message as request. And if you want to give correlation ID, you can give pass correlation ID. And the queue name I have selected here first queue. Otherwise I can select this application is running here, so that's why that second queue is not coming here. And then you can choose the timeout as 5 and timeout unit as 5 minutes. So until 5 minutes it will the messages will be stored in this first queue. So this application is already running. So application is already deployed. Started VM connector 1, and let's publish some queues in this some messages in this queue. So this is my Postman collection, and here this is VM POC path. And here, this is the payload message I'm passing as a request payload, and name is 1 and order as first order. First order I'm sending. So that payload comes here, and so click on this next processor, and here in this logger I have logged the payload. So let's see the response. So here this is the response. Let me create a few more records, few more messages. This is also order 2 is also published. Order 3. So order 3 is also published. Let's see the consume connector. So here the consume connector, one listener I have taken. This is the consume connector configuration. Here I am consuming the messages from this first queue, whatever I have stored through publish VM connector, that messages through this consume connector I can consume. So time I have given as 5 and units 5 minutes. Let's check out this. Let's move on to consume connector. This application is also running in 8081 port. And here I am not passing any body because I am consuming the response. So first order I have consumed. Second order I have consumed. Response is 200. Third order I have consumed. And after third order, it will wait for some time because no other orders are there. So it will wait for some time. So if you create till 5 minutes, it will wait. The fourth order I am publishing. Fourth order is published. Let's check this. Consume. Yes, we got this fourth order record. So in this way, one after the other, the records or the messages which are stored in the publish consume connector, those messages will store in the publish consumer, and after that, through this consume connector, we can consume the messages. And next, let's see the listener and publish consume connector. So for that purpose, we have to add some records, or we have to add some messages in the publish queue. Let's create fifth record, fifth order, sixth order, and seventh order. So 3 records I have added, published in this queue. Let's stop this application. Then let me add one listener. VM listener I'm adding. I have to configure the connection queue name. Queue name I'm selecting as fast queue, and timeout is 5 minutes. Content is payload. Content I'm storing it as payload. In this listener, tracking purpose, I have added a payload here. And then this is one more listener I have configured for publish consume connector. So this is the path, and for publish consume configuration, I'm passing content as payload, and queue name is fast queue, and timeout is 20 seconds. So within this 20 seconds, the message will publish and consume. Let's run this application. The application is running. Connector 1 that is deployed. Let's move to the connector. Let me create this 7th record again. Seven, 8, 9 records I have in the publish. Let's go to this publish consume connector. Second record that is published in this consume connector. Third record is published and consumed. Record that is published and consumed. So here, third record is created, consumed and created. Fourth record is consumed and created. Eighth record is created. Ninth record is created. Second record is created. At the same time, it is consumed. So in this way, with this publish consume connector, we can publish the queue. At the same time, we can consume the queue at a time. So that is the functionality of this publish consume connector. Publish, and to overview, this publish consumer is simply to store the queue, and this consume connector is simply used to consume the queues whatever stored in the publish queue. Through listener or without listener, we can consume the queues. And through this listener routes the request, and it will search for the message from the queue, and it will return. And here we can publish the queue, and at the same time we can consume the queues. So that's all about the session. Hope you like it. Thank you.